Hi everyone, great to see you here. Thank you for stopping by. It's been a while. Currently, as I'm doing this reading, it is in the middle of the double eclipse season. So we're in August 2026. Energies have been quite rife. It's been asking us to really to show up as our true selves, to strip all the layers back, to strip the pretenses, the masks. How do you want to show up in this world? What is it? What impact? What flavor can you give this world? What is your unique gift and talent that you can bring in this world? I actually just did a workshop on Friday for colleagues, and it's my workshop called Closing the Alignment Gap, and we had a look at defining our purpose. What impact do we want to have on the world? How we are showing up in the world currently versus how we want to show up in the world, and how can we close that gap? And also showing up for yourself in one of the places where we spend the most time, which is at work. A lot of us, we obviously, and for a reason, we have like our work persona, we have, and our private persona, etc., etc. But I think if more of us could bring more of ourselves to our work, we would actually have better days. I think people confuse it and think that their work is their purpose, but actually you need to bring purpose to your work. But that's a whole different video. So we are getting into this video for those people that are navigating right now and are working towards this. We are working towards the Nine of Pentacles. In the Nine of Pentacles, she is relaxed. She is beautifully, beautifully clothed in luxurious clothing. You can see that she is comfortable where she's at. She's in a garden that is just thriving, in a vineyard that is thriving with trees and a beautiful house. So all of these things don't just happen. We don't just sit back, try and manifest it and wait for it to plop into our laps, because that is not really how it works at all. And I think the collective that I'm speaking to here does know that. So yes, you have to plant your seeds. You have to tend them. You have to water them. You have to go through the seasons. Even in nature, things don't bloom just all of a sudden. They go through a period of rest. They go through a period of shedding. They go through a period of rebirth and regrowth. And they go through a period of looking glorious and blooming. And then they go into a period of rest again. So you can't sustain sort of like a high level of intensity. And I think I'm speaking to people that work, that not even necessarily corporate working, just really work for a living, as most of us do. And you are going and going and going. You can do that for short periods of time, and we live in a very demanding society, so that does get demanded of us, but you cannot do it consistently. And I don't know whether my camera can pick it up, but I'll just try and do this. There's a little snail here, and the snail is not fast, no, but it gets there. It gets there slowly, it gets there deliberately, it carries its home on its back, it has a rest when it needs to, it's sheltered when it needs to be. And so we need to be maybe taking a lesson from the snail, which is like, you're still going towards your destination, but you don't have to always rush there. You don't have to always take the quickest route. You don't have to not look at the scenery because you need to get somewhere. Maybe you need to be incorporating more of that scenery. You need to be enjoying more of why we're planting these seeds, why we're growing things, why we're wanting to have all these material things in our lives if we can't take the time to enjoy them. I mean, what's the point of accumulating all these things and, I'll do it when I'm retired, or I'll do it when you say I will do it when, it means when doesn't come, and it doesn't come soon enough and quick enough. You need to be enjoying the journey and the way that you're doing it. So we are all on this journey towards the Nine of Pentacles, where we have more than enough than what we need. We've cultivated, we've looked after the seeds that have been given us. A lot of us get given beautiful little seeds that we either don't see, we ignore, or we let them wither and die because we think there's better things somewhere else for us. But it's always only better where you water it. It is always only better where you put your energy. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So where are you putting your attention? What are you thinking? Where are you going? Okay, there we go. The Death card. So this is saying that there are things in your life right now that you probably do know about. Okay, you do know, and even if you don't fully know, you have a hint of things that you need to stop doing. Things that people that you need to stop hanging around because they're not good for your energy, they're not good for your mental health, they're not good for your self-esteem, for your confidence. There are things that you need to stop saying and ways that you need to stop speaking to yourself, to loved ones, to others. But I get especially to yourself, because you're stopping your flow. You're stopping your flow towards your Nine of Pentacles. There are things that you need to stop. And the death card shows up because you actually need to put them to death. And when something or someone gets put to death, what happens? It's the end. It's like there's no more. It is the end of the road. So you need to stop what you're doing. You need to stop the blockages that are in your path. If you don't know what your blockages are, then you do need to do a little bit of shadow work, a bit of inner work. And I will get to something before I close this reading. I will actually draw a card from the deck that I use for shadow work, and we'll get a prompt on what to work on, and maybe you need to journal on it or meditate on it or just sit with it quietly, because when we sit with things quietly and the mind and the chatter stops, that is when we can start feeling, that is when we can start connecting, that is when we can start getting the answers that we need. So here something needs to be put to death. Very, very strongly feel that it's the habits. It's the habit, like you're in a habit of maybe seeing certain people or doing certain things on a certain day, or like hypothetically, and just like as an example, you used to see in a group of certain friends on a Friday, every Friday, but you feel like you've outgrown them, but because you've done it for such a long time, you just do it. Well, the universe, source, divine, God is telling you you need to stop that. They are not helping you get to where you want to go. It is hard. Making change is never easy. Doing the right thing for yourself is never easy. Sometimes it feels very, maybe even selfish to a point. But when you need to do things the right thing, what you're wanting to bring in has to outweigh what is weighing you down. You've got to make space for that thing that you want, that beautiful thing that you want, that the easiness of things, the new way of thinking, the new way of doing things. Maybe you want to be fitter, but every Friday you go to the pub with your friends and eat, I don't know, greasy pub food or what I don't know, whatever. But how are you going to get that fit body if you keep doing that, and then you're tired the next day because you stayed out late and you're not going to get up and go for that walk in the park or go to that class that you wanted to do? Do you see, there is some sacrifice that needs to be made to get better. But here in the death card, you can see there's the sunrise. All is not doom and gloom, people. You put to death the things that no longer serve you, that are not doing you any favors, and you bring in things that you want. You plant the seeds that you want, you water, you tend it, it grows into the Nine of Pentacles, which is a life that you actually are looking and wanting to work towards. Good, we're getting some really good cards today. This is a good reading. Hanged Man. Okay, so you either don't know what you need to give up, and in the form of the Hangman, you need to hang back. You need to be looking at something from a different perspective. You need to be taking a pause. You need to be taking a gap. Not doing the same old. You need to step back, take a breath, calm everything down, have a look at the landscape. What is it that I need to do differently? What is it that is holding myself back? What am I afraid of that's going to happen if I do go for that thing? Why am I stopping myself? All important questions. Why am I showing up as this person when I'm actually not that person? This other version of me is actually the real me, and why can't I bring that realness into my work, into my everyday life, into myself? Why do I feel that I have to show up wearing a mask of some sort? Why can I not be my true self? And then you need to be looking, if you've tried before and it hasn't worked out, because I think this is something that maybe a couple of people have tried to pursue. It is a bit difficult. They've got a bit tired, or things have happened and they've just kind of like reverted back, and now they are wanting to change. Then if you have tried a few times before, you need to be looking at things from a different perspective. Again, taking a step back. Well, I've tried that didn't work for me. Why did that not work for me? How can I do it differently? Can I do it in smaller bite-sized chunks so that it doesn't feel overwhelming? Can I make one little change every day? Or can I just make one little change that I continue to do the same thing every day until it becomes a habit and I no longer have to think about it, and then I can look at the next thing to change? Those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves, that we should be working through, writing it down, journaling on it, mulling it over, talking about it with a close friend, somebody that you can trust, a loved one. I also feel that when we are thinking about what we are wanting to bring in, what we are wanting to, the seeds that we're wanting to plant and then water and grow and nurture into whatever it is that we're seeking to fulfill, whichever desire we're seeking to fulfill, what impact we want to have on the world, we also need to ask ourselves, why do we want that impact? I think it's very, very important to know the purpose and the reason why you're doing something. If your reason is just to get rich and be happy and fulfilled, I mean, that is good enough reason. There's no judgment here. But you need to know why. Is it because you grew up maybe without a lot of anything, without a lot of material things, and that makes you feel safe to have all that stuff around you? Know your why, because sometimes what can happen is we can actually go into the reverse swing where then we accumulate, and it's unhealthy. But if you know that I want that because I didn't have that growing up, and I always felt insecure about maybe not having a home to live in, or whatever the story is, and so now you want somewhere where you feel safe. Maybe all you need is a little one-bedroom flat and you feel safe and cozy. Maybe you are striving for a 5-bedroom house. But know your why is what I'm saying, because maybe you don't need that 5-bedroom house. Maybe you need the 1-bedroom flat or a 2-bedroom house or flat. And then when you have that 5-bedroom, you're going to be filling it with lots of things, and you don't really need, and you go into that whole cycle of getting into debt. Hypothetically, I mean, I'm not saying this for anybody, but I'm just saying know your why, because you can go into a downward spiral of things instead of the fulfilling and upward spiral that we're hoping to bring in. Yes, but very important are these two cards. Something has to be given up. Something that is no longer serving you, that is not good for you. You need to think about it. What is it? Understand it. Understand why you need to give it up, and what it is that you're actually wanting to bring in. And then look at ways to do it from different perspectives, because maybe the way that you've tried before hasn't worked, but maybe you haven't even tried. And so now you're going to be looking and developing a strategy of how to bring it in. Okay, one more card. Oh my goodness. The 9 of Cups. This is a card of achievement, of success, of celebration, if you can follow these steps. And I'm not saying, for some people, when you get going and you get into the flow and you actually start making time to be still, making time to receive your messages, making time to work through the questions that you need to ask, these things happen quick, like super quick, like weeks, a couple of months, even a week, couple of weeks. They can happen. It depends where you are on your journey and how open you are to the change. And if you're very resistant, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. And when I say resistant or open to the change, you need to remember that it's not necessarily. So now that you're making a conscious decision to do and to change something, but our programming is subconscious, and so we need to get into that subconscious level to do the reprogramming. How do we know what we are thinking subconsciously? We listen to what words come out of our mouth. How are you speaking about yourself? How are you speaking about your situation? How are you speaking about the impact and purpose that you want? Is it in a negative, slightly more negative way? Is it it's never going to happen? Is it, it's only going to happen in a few? How are you speaking about it? Really, those are the clues. That's really important. And then you change your programming. You start rewiring your brain in those 10 minutes before you go to sleep at night and the 10 minutes when you wake up. Show me evidence that I'm moving forward. Show me evidence that I don't need to do this anymore. Show me a way forward. Let me see the paths or the opportunities that are open to you today. And your brain starts looking for those things that you are asking it to look for. At the moment, your brain is living in a program that you have put it into, trying to keep you safe, and it filters out things that it deems is unnecessary for you. But those very things that it deems unnecessary may be the opportunities that you're looking for and you can't see, and you think that they're not there, but yet they are there. You just need to reprogram your brain. It's like when you're saying, Or for example, you want to buy a new car and you want to buy, I don't know, some sporty little red Mini. And you never see the red minis and you think, oh, I'm buying a unique car. And all of a sudden you start seeing sporty little red minis everywhere. You go, oh my goodness, has everybody got the same idea as me? No, they were always there. But what happened is because it wasn't on your program, your brain filtered it out so you never saw them. It's similar to if I say to you, look around the room right now and name all the brown things. And then I say, well, can you name the blue things? You'd be like, no, I was only looking for brown things. So you gave your brain an order, and your brain did the order, looked for all the brown things, but it didn't look for blue things because that is not what you were looking for. Okay, so that's, in a nutshell, that's actually quite a good video to do another video on. Okay, well, we'll see. Let me know in the comments if you want to chat about things like that, and we can definitely do another video. But getting back to that, so if you follow your steps, and if you take the time, and if you do the work, and that's the whole thing, it does take work. It does take a bit of strategy. It does take a bit of thought process, and being still, and being a little bit uncomfortable, because that's where we stretch and grow. And a lot of people don't want to feel that, don't want to be in that situation, and that's why we stay where we are. We stay stagnant, or we say that didn't work, or that's not working for us. But we have to put ourselves into a couple of uncomfortable situations where we feel a little bit, this is not what I normally do. But it's when you do the things that you don't normally do that the magic happens, right? And I'm not talking about dangerous things. I'm talking about, don't go to the pub on that Friday and go to a gym class, or don't go to that pub on a Friday, have an early night and go to your gym session, or go for a run, go do the park run, or do something that you don't normally do. Yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to feel a bit awkward, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes a habit. Then you look at the next thing, and before you know it, you're much fitter than you were. You are feeling better about yourself. You feel better in your clothes. You're eating better. You have more sleep. You're feeling better. I mean, yes. The results and the positives that come out of making those small changes can be absolutely life-changing. And that is what we want. We want to make our way to the 9 of Cups, and we want to be able to celebrate it in the we want to make our way to the 9 of Pentacles, and we want to be able to celebrate it in the 9 of Cups. We want to feel those emotions as we are going through our journey. Yes, we want to feel accomplished. We want to feel happy. We want to feel gratitude. Yes, we can feel frustrated at times. Yes, we can be angry. Emotions come up. We are human. We are made to feel emotions. Emotions don't last very long. They literally last like 30 seconds to a minute, I think. And it is us holding on to the emotions after they have passed that gives them life. So if you hold on, you've experienced joy. Joy will last just as long as another emotion, but you hold on to that joy and you hold on to that feeling, so that feeling lasts longer. But if you have a feeling of disappointment, of lack, of anger, and you hold on to that, that is the feeling that will last, and it will multiply and will color the way that you see things, the way that you see events, the way that you do things, the way that you react. But we want to celebrate our triumphs. We want to, when the anger or the disappointment comes up, we want to say, yes, we see that. Why were we disappointed? Because of this. Okay, so let's change that. Don't hold on to the disappointment feeling. Figure it out. Let it go and say, I'm going to change that. I'm going to tweak that so that something else will come in. But enjoy the journey, because the journey, I think that you will find as you do more and more of this, and when you go to places, and not places, physical places, but when you go to places that you want to manifest and places that you want to be in your spiritual walk or in life, when you get there, there's always somewhere else to go. So you need to learn to enjoy the journey along the way, because that is where the richness comes from. That is where your stories come from. That is where your memories, that is where your lessons, your skills, they come from those tough places, and they come from those journeys. And then when you get to the place that you want to be, sweet relief and enjoyment can be had. And then you will find that you will then be looking and go on to the next one. So I did promise you that I was going to draw a card for some shadow work that you can maybe journal on, or parts that you need to be looking at. So we're going to ask Spirit to show us for this collective, what is it that they will need to be focusing on? The 8 of Wands. Interesting. So the 8 of Wands is a very fast-moving card. Things come in very quickly. It's usually about messages or things that you're trying to bring into your life, and they just come in very quickly. So the message coming through here is a warning. Not everything that comes in quickly is good. Not everything is supposed to come in quickly. And when you expect things to come in really, really quickly, that is when you can become disappointed, think that things aren't working, and then your attention gets moved elsewhere and you onto the next thing, or you abandon what you were looking for, and then the actual lesson that you were meant to learn, or the thing that you were going to go through, is then just put aside, but you haven't learned that lesson, so it will come around again. It'll come around again. It'll come around either in the same way, or it will come around in a different way, but it will be the same lesson, which is why we actually have cycles until we break them. So this is telling you, you need to work on your perception of what do you think is quick and fast. Why do you want everything to come in quickly into your world? What is it that is so terrible that you need to change so quickly? Get to the base of that. Look at what do you need to let go of, what you need to put to death and say no more, and then get rebirthed into something else. What do you need to look at a different perspective? How do you need to work it differently? Because people hate to tell you this, but there is no time is a man-made construct. There is really no time. In the spiritual realm, it's like what we think is fast might not be fast on the other side. You need to have reasonable expectations of how things are going to come into your life. Then you have to, like I said, rewire your subconscious so that you are alert and looking for those opportunities, looking for those changes, actively rewiring your brain to look for that positive, not to keep you in the same mindset that you were in before, not to keep you safe and bringing in, because your brain will always keep you safe. And even it'll keep you safe stuck in the same old patterns, even if there's a better, more heavenly experience waiting, because you haven't programmed it, and because it's just used to showing you what it's used to on that program, it won't show you that heavenly experience that you want. You need to then go, show me that. Give me evidence. Show me proof. Show me that it's there. Thank you for listening to me today. Thank you for being here. I hope that you're still here at the end of this video, and if you are, leave some comments below. I'd just love to hear where you are and what you're shifting, what you're moving, and what you're letting go of. See you in the next reading.